This is the video for Unit 3, Day 1, Chapter 9.6, the bolded problems. The first problem we have is number 5, and it tells us to use the associative property to simplify this problem. This is just an expression because there's no equal sign. So here I have negative 6 times 3x. The associative property tells us that if you're adding or multiplying, you can regroup the parts of the problem. So here I can make a parenthesis and I can say negative 6 times 3 times x. And basically I haven't changed the value at all, I've just changed how the grouping works. So here you know from our friend PEMDAS that we do what's inside the parentheses first. So negative 6 times 3 is negative 18, because a negative times a positive is still a negative. So negative 18 times x. And remember, if I'm multiplying with a variable, I don't have to put an operator in between. If they're right next to each other, that means you multiply. So again, that's the associative property. I've just changed how it was grouped. In this problem, I'm supposed to do the same thing with regrouping. You notice that all of this is addition, so I can use the associative property. Keep in mind that if you have addition and multiplication or addition and subtraction and division, the signs aren't the same. You have to be really careful with how you regroup. So here, I'm going to try to regroup so I have all of my constants, all of just the plain old numbers in one group. So here I'm going to say 2 plus 19 and put them in the parentheses and bring down this 12a plus. So again, I'm going to combine what's inside the parentheses. 2 plus 19 is 21 plus, and then just bring down 12a. And you'll notice, because these are expressions, I don't know what the variable stands for yet. I just know that there's something in here that can change. Okay, so now they want us to look at the distributive property for number 31. And remember, distributing is passing out to each member of the group. So if I'm dealing cards, I give one card to each person. If I'm passing out cookies, I give one cookie to each person in a round. We're doing the same thing with the distributive property here. First, I'm going to, and remember, when you see the parentheses and a number and nothing between them, you're multiplying. So here, I'm going to say 6 times a is 6a. And then I'm going to say 6 times negative 7 would be negative 42. Again, I can't really solve for anything because it's not an equation, it's just an expression. But if you think back to our work with factoring, I could undo this by saying, what number do both 6 and 42 have in common? Well, gosh, it's 6. So I could pull out a 6 on the outside. That would leave behind a by itself. 6 goes into negative 42, negative 7 times. And you can see that distributing is the inverse operation of factoring. Let's take a look at this one. Here I have 5 on the outside. Within the parentheses I have 7 minus 4y. These are different kinds of terms, so I cannot combine them. So let's do our work here. Distributing 5 to 7 makes 35. Distributing 5 to negative 4y makes negative 20y. Okay? Here it's getting a little bit more complicated. Here they want you to distribute and combine like terms. Well, remember up here we did some factoring. I'm going to do the same thing here. I have a in this term and I have a in this term. So I could take a out and that would leave behind 3 plus, And don't forget, whenever you have a variable by itself, it has a shadow 1, a silent partner. So when I pull an A out, it leaves the 1 behind. So now I have A, and in the parentheses I have 3 plus 1 is 4. So my answer is A4, and we really like to write that the other way and write it 4A. So what I did was I did the inverse operation of distribution, and I pulled out a common factor. Here I'm going to do the same thing. The thing these two numbers have in common is 2, because these are both even numbers, and x. So I'm going to pull out a 2 and an x, 2x, times, and what I left behind here was the shadow 1, but I left behind a negative 1. And here I left behind 2 goes into 6 3 times, and x goes into x 1 time, so I don't have to write that again, it's a shadow. And I'm combining these two numbers, so I have negative 1 plus 3. So now I have 2x times negative 1 plus positive 3, different signs, find the difference. 3 minus 1 is 2, and it's a positive 2. So here, 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times x. So my answer is 4x. And just to remind you, this is the long way to go about this, but what it does is it shows you what factoring and distribution are. I could actually just look at this and say, let's see, I have 3 A's, and 1 A gives me 4 A's. Here I have negative 2x plus 6, so I had 6 x's and I took away 2 x's, that leaves me 4 x's.